this news.
What are the plans to do so if those records are obtained?
Well, as we know, there's a massive amount of fraud in this country. You have, for example, foreign fraud rings. These are foreign nationals who come into the United States. They use fake Social Security numbers. They use fake identities to steal billions in taxpayer benefits. There's no way to know until DOGE gains full access exactly how much money we're talking about. But over a 10-year normal budget window, you could be talking about saving over $1 trillion by clamping down on massive fraud in our tax and entitlement systems, including, again, those carried out by organized fraud and theft rings. A very important point in all this is to understand that DOGE are subordinate staffers of the federal government. They are political appointees, just like me, just like everyone else in the White House, that serve and answer to the president. So we're not talking about an outside private entity. We're talking about the existing federal staff of the federal government performing their statutory and constitutional duty.
Does that explain it? Does Miller explain it any better than that, Eric?
I think it's good. They're getting ahead of the message. People are complaining about the audio being jacked, so just let me know if you hear us okay. But anyway,
it's too loud, or
no, it was during the video. They were saying,
the video,
and it's jacked. I'm like, okay,
wow.
I don't know. It seemed fine to me. But
I think Miller's a genius. I mean, this guy.
Oh, he's the guy behind a lot of what Trump is doing. I mean, that's the mastermind, right?
He's
there.
the mastermind. He's out of Santa Monica, California, and grew up here and went to private school. I think he went to Crossroads. He knows them because he grew up among them. Like I know them because I grew up among them. And there's a certain mindset that you just go, oh yeah.
Well, he also did Duke Lacrosse, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Before all of this, as a lawyer, it's like, oh wow, he's the guy who did that, which wound up getting a DA in prison.
That's right.
Everything else. So this is a sharp dude.
Yeah, and those numbers that they pulled out of Social Security. I was just watching Trump's presser at Mar-a-Lago, and he goes, I don't know anybody over 100, but I definitely don't know anybody getting Social Security who's 129. And then he goes into explaining it as sarcastically dry as only Trump can, that very few people live to 129, Eric. You know what I mean? He goes, there is a woman, I think she's got the record. She might be 126, and he was like, really deadpanning it.
Well, especially because even that woman has been disproved, and they said it was her daughter that got rolled in together.
Right.
I think that the official longest person who ever lived was 118 or 19, right. But they're going all the way up to 300 years old.
I saw that. I saw the list. I just saw the list moments ago. When confronted with absolute criminal fraud, they look the other way, the Democrats.
Oh, yeah. Or they say, don't look there. Stop looking. They'll say, stop looking.
Go after Musk. He's the guy exposing it. I can't look at what he's exposing. You got to go after the guy who's exposing it, Eric.
Oh, I know. And it's not only, he put that out. I think he put it very succinctly. It was very important to stress what their role is, because they're trying to do that whole thing. These are not employees, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, they're appointed. They actually do work for the government.
That's right.
He also has put out that they're not looking to go into your and my records and say, look at what did Mark earn this year? What did Eric earn this year? They're looking for programmatic access. And what that means is essentially you're coding and you're saying, give me all the people who are this. And it's not identifying you personally,
right?
But you can find out a ton of information by saying, okay, the inlays and outlays and these algorithms can find this stuff that's very difficult to find, with the human eye. So obviously you have the number problem with the age, things like that, but there's also even organized crime.
Yep.
That are selling.
Well, these checks are going somewhere. I mean, those numbers are racking up in the millions. 120 to 129 years old was like over 3 million checks going out for 120 to 129. Somebody's cashing those checks.
Yeah.
Now you can either trace it all the way to find the guy or cut it off at its source,
Exactly.
which is a lot easier, Eric.
Yeah, it's easier to cut off and say, well, then they'll have to come in and prove it.
Right. You come in and pick up your check. We're waiting right here.
Exactly. Yeah. And then if nobody comes in, I'll be like, oh, well, what do you
It's
know?
like the opening of Sea of Love with Al Pacino. They sent out a thing to all these different people that they won Yankee tickets, and they had to come to this warehouse to pick up the Yankee tickets, and they were all wearing Yankee outfits, Al Pacino and the others, and they show up to get their tickets, and it's a sting operation for cons who are on the run, felons. And they go, I'm here for my Yankee tickets, and they slap the cuffs on them. They turn their own greed against them. So maybe if they sent out an email to some of these 180-year-old people saying, maybe we could send wheelchair access for you. We understand you're 180. We'd like to give you a check, but we need you to show up every 61 years by federal regulation or something, where they got to show up to a warehouse to get a free toaster oven.
So what would be like that woman in South America who was trying to get her uncle's benefits and rolling around the corpse and faking his signature?
Yeah, and there must be a lot of that.
Be like, oh, grave robbing has gone up.
Who are these people outside who are protesting this in D.C., who were saying no to President Musk, and who's organizing those people?
I don't know. There are people claiming that it's grassroots. Yeah. I'd like to see if there's some buses. Where are the buses?
Right.
We'll call them Soros buses.
Right. Well, they could be in their apartments surrounding the Capitol. People who didn't come to work for 5 years. Maybe they finally saw the light of day. Like the vampires that they are, they had to come out into the bright sunlight of liberty to protest.
Well, they are vampires. They're going to be paid for 500 years, so I guess.
Right. Wow.
I mean, it is insane.
Okay. There's a couple of business things. One, if you don't like commercials, go F yourself, or you can watch us for free on Locals with no commercials. That's right. You can go to Locals right now. I'm talking to you, Fred, who's sitting there on his couch. Fred, get up. Go to unstructured.locals.com. No commercials. Or Rumble. Very few. Or even YouTube Premium, Hunley says, may have none. Or you can watch us live, where Hunley has one commercial, but he's going to read that by himself.
Yeah, they are injecting commercials live now, from what I understand.
These pro-capitalist people are opposed to capitalism when it comes to them. It's like a NIMBY capitalism. Not in my living room can you sell commercials for a show I'm watching for free. And that's people on the conservative side. It's kind of shocking that they have the chutzpah to complain about commercials and be a capitalist, except when it affects them.
Right. People are going to go crazy. I saw the dermatologist yesterday, folks.
Oh, yeah.
These will go away soon. Don't worry about it.
Right. You got to connect the dots. Hunley has found a couple of dots, and they're on his face, and we're going to try in this episode to connect those dots. So bear with us. Now, getting back to the other event I wanted to talk about was the Big Barnes birthday ball mash bash in Las Vegas with Big Balls Barnes. Big Balls Bald-Headed Barnes's birthday bash in Vegas, which is April 12th, Saturday night. We now got confirmation that another Jewish person is coming named Viva. He has confirmed that he will be there. So it's 2-on-2, me and Viva versus Eric and Bald-Headed Barnes. And he might have some things removed from his face also by then. Who knows? However, that being said, we're putting the band back together. We haven't been together in a couple of years, the four of us together. And it's going to be a great reunion, and we're going to have a panel discussion and a Q&A and food, Italian style. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You got literally almost 2 months to get your ass to Vegas. And if you start walking, you could probably get there in 2 months if you do one of those protest walks or something, where you just, or just want to count your steps on one of those step counters that everybody has on their phone now, which a lot of people are using.
This is true. I'd recommend that you start walking maybe next week, though. It's supposed to be a bad winter storm this week.
Right.
So hold off this week.
People on the Barnes, I just want to point this out, Eric, that some people on the Barnes locals with Viva thought that this was exclusive to locals only. And I had to, I meant to tell you that. There are people there who thought this was a locals exclusive thing. It's a little confusing. So maybe we could clarify that this is open to the free world. You can come from foreign countries. Some cats coming from Australia.
We got one. We have one definitely from England.
From England, things from England with Scott Muni, WNEW FM in New York.
Maybe someone from Brazil.
Maybe someone from Brazil. So it's not locals only. What Eric does is he gives like a little 48-hour window to locals members to buy a discounted ticket. But now it's wide open to the rest of the earth, except Ukrainians. That's obviously, we got to draw the line somewhere. You know, Zelensky has a 4% approval rating. Did you hear that? 4.
That high?
Well, for a dictator, you figure you get like some people who love dictators who are good for 5 or 6%. The guy's got a 4. No wonder he doesn't want to have elections, Hunley. Yeah, a 4% approval rating. I'm worried about him and Eric Adams now. Eric Adams may not have a very high approval rating.
No. Well, Eric Adams is an interesting scenario because they're literally looking at removing him. Now, I did get it clarified because it was looking like a middle-aged female governor was going to remove a black mayor from New York and replace him with a middle-aged female. But apparently, that's not true. The person replacing him is another black gentleman. Nate told me his name. I forgot it.
It's a public advocate. It's what it's called. He's the advocate.
Yeah,
it's a position designed for this, and it's called the anti-riot provision. When a white Karen replaces black mayor, they built in. They're not stupid in New York. They built in this provision to have an acting mayor from Bedford-Stuyvesant, and this is what the guy is. And it's funny because Adams himself was saying at this bizarre prayer breakfast or whatever they were doing, where they were laying hands on him, Eric, all these different people. He said, "Do you want," and he mentions the guy named, "to be the mayor?" And they're all going, "No, no." And he goes, "Okay, you got me. You know, show me the money." That's his mantra is "show me the money."
Oh, good God. You know who else says "show me the money"?
Who?
Tiffany Hinyard.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
Oh, she's America's super mayor.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I never remember her name. There's a video. I sent you a copy of this video when he was in the state Senate, where he's just yelling, "Show me the money," demanding a pay raise, not for a budget. It's a video of Eric Adams in Albany when he was in the state Senate, yelling, "Show me the money." It's just a great little video. And that was for a pay raise that he just got there and he said he wasn't being paid enough.
Oh, good God. Good God.
Anyway, the point of the matter is, Halpern is having a meltdown over this thing, claiming this is bigger than Watergate. He just keeps saying this over and over, that where even John Dean had to come on to CNN the other day saying this is nowhere near the level of Watergate. John Dean, who would say, you know, a guy being arrested in a bank for pulling his pants down was as big as Watergate, has now said that this Mayor Adams kerfuffle is nowhere near the level of Watergate, despite what Mark Halpern keeps hammering.
Yeah, Mark's been on it a little bit. He's been on it a little bit for sure. Let me see. Here we go. Jeez, come on, play.
Show me the money. Show me the money. That's what it's all about. We deserve more money. We deserve to be paid for the job we're doing.
That's right.
That's him?
No, that's Eric Adams, bro. I mean, that's the mayor of New York. It's a video that's been hidden for years that has recently resurfaced of his career in the state Senate. That being said, I've never seen a mayor like this, and I'm glad he's, you know, stuck between a rock and a hard place here because, Trump is letting him off the hook and still dangling the sword of Damocles over his head if he doesn't help Homan to get rid of these illegal aliens in New York.
I think that's the part right there that I do actually have an issue with that part because all this goes away. Like Hochul and everybody won't even have a claim if they just dismiss with prejudice because right now he's compromised. However you look at it, he is technically a compromised mayor. And can you have that person running it?
Well, he's running for re-election. So, I mean, Andrew Cuomo's leading him statistically by about 30 points in the polls.
Oh, I'm sure it'd be a landslide.
Yeah, so he's toast. I mean, without this is separate separate stuff. I mean, he's going to lose to Andrew Cuomo, so this is going to take care of itself.
Which is kind of ironic because so Andrew Cuomo is going to be working for the person who replaced him.
That's right. Now you're catching on, Hunley.
Yeah,
welcome to New York politics. And he will be. He was Letitia James before Letitia James, before he was governor.
Yeah,
he went after the governor who was ahead of him. They have their own thing in New York. They've got their own style. California's got their own crazy crap here, where they did a poll, and now, of course, they decided, as I predicted over 6 months ago, that the leading candidate for the governor of New York is, of course, Kamala Harris. And everybody's now coming to the conclusion where they're asking her in public appearances if she's going to run for governor, and she's not denying it. And Rob Bonta, who's the attorney general here, endorsed her on a show just yesterday, saying he's endorsing her for governor. And he's not running. He was going to run himself. He's not running.
All right. Well, before we get into Kamala and the future destruction of California,
and New York,
we have a sponsor. Which is a good thing.
Let me tell you about NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide from Black Forest. It's a powerful supplement that boosts energy, aids recovery, and promotes longevity by supporting NAD+ production. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a Stanford neuroscientist, recently explained on Joe Rogan's podcast how NMN is so effective that pharmaceutical companies want to patent it as a prescription drug.
So let's explain NMN for people. Okay. It's a precursor for NAD+.
Right. So NAD is critical to energy production in all cells, vital. And levels of NAD tend to go down as we age. It's an absolute requirement for cellular health and life. You need it. Some years ago, as David Sinclair came on this podcast and discussed that his laboratory is a tenured professor of genetics, Harvard Medical School, and other laboratories are starting to explore stimulating the NAD pathway as a tool for extending lifespan in mice. And that there were already some data from yeast. There are now some clinical trials in humans.
I've got my NMN. It boosts energy, speeds recovery, and supports a healthy lifestyle. Get yours before it's restricted. For the next 48 hours, buy 2 and get 1 free at blackforestsupplements.com/untold. I stocked up. You should too.
I'm going to try that. I saw that video before. I didn't know they were sponsored by ours. I saw that video a month ago with that guy, and I was fascinated then. So I'm definitely going to. Do we get a discount at all? Is there like a code?
It's in the description. Anybody, it's buy 2, get 1 free.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good deal. It's not cheap. It is, definitely not cheap stuff.
I see what you're saying.
I have used it for a while, and it does seem to, have an effect, though.
Right. I wish I could have had it yesterday when I went to the dentist and the guy was drilling into my skull. It might have helped me a little bit with the pain then, but okay, I'll try it anyway.
Hey, it is. And you know what? I'm really glad that they came back. This is the second time they've, sponsored the show.
Right.
People are afraid of sponsoring the show. It's just insane. It is insane.
You mean because of the controversial topics that we discussed?
No, we're patriotic Americans, and
like the bill that's currently working its way through the Missouri House.
Which one is that?
I didn't tell you about that. The migrant illegal alien bounty hunter bill, which I fully support, and I think would be America's
TV show.
Well, as I posted on Twitter the other day, America's most wanted illegal aliens. And it involves a series of bounty hunters and ICE agents, just like America's Most Wanted, but it's America's Most Wanted illegal aliens. And we post their crimes. We put them up there. We say, these are the guys being sought this week. If you have any information about Juan Gazelle Hernandez or Juan Montano, call 1-800-illegal-alien. And then you've got this bill, as I suggested just moments ago. It looks like it's going to be passed in Missouri that would make it legal for bounty hunters to go after illegal aliens. And I wanted to know in the chat, in the comments, who would support this and who wouldn't.
I would like that to happen. I am concerned, though, that when you have folks like Trin Daragua out there, these are not nice folks. They're very violent. I mean, it's funny when you're listening to like a Michael Francesi talking about how, no, these people are scary. You know, he worked with John Gotti, and he's.
Did you see him with
terrified
Bill
of the-
Maher?
Oh, that was horrible. I mean,
Dude,
Bill
I
Maher
mean,
is
who
such-
goes on this show? I don't understand. The second you sit down, this guy goes after you. Then he lights up another joint and takes more shots of tequila and yells at you.
and keeps quoting The Godfather every damn second of the show. And at one point, it's like, you know, Franchise's sitting there saying, you can't get into the life. He was talking about how he's been married to his wife for 40 years and she saved his life. This is kind of inspirational stuff here.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, getting in this life destroys families, it destroys the world. And then, and then Mars quoting The Godfather saying, oh, you can't separate the family. And then Franchise goes, yeah, and then he killed Fredo. And
What a
like,
clown.
Yeah.
What a clown.
And then he went in to tell how, you know, his father was in prison for 40 years. His mother didn't have a husband for 33 years. His sister died of an overdose at 26.
Yep.
His other sister died at the age of 40. His brother's been an addict his whole life, and he hasn't seen him in a decade because he's an informant.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're talking about Club Random, which is Bill's, just so people at home don't know what we're talking about. He's got a sideshow called Club Random, where he gets drunk, does drugs, and you sit there and take abuse from him. We saw the one with Matt Gaetz a couple of weeks ago, and had on this ex-mobster who's got a big space on podcast, Michael Franzi. And it's funny because what Michael said to him at one point, my takeaway from the episode, and it was that he said that Biden was running a RICO statute crime family, and Maher just goes berserk. And he said, what evidence do you have? And he says, well, first of all, I was a target of RICO statutes. I know the statutes inside and out. I come from a crime family. And Maher goes, oh, this is about you again, bro? He's going, no, it's not about me. I'm going to explain to you about Joe Biden. And Maher was literally, I swear to God, sticking his fingers in his ears going, nah, you know, not wanting to hear this. It's an astounding disease. Like, I would just go, okay, tell me, what's this? What am I missing here? Not him. They do not want to hear the other side, physically don't want to hear it.
By the way, on that note, if you get a chance to check it out, because that's how I backed into that show, Franchise had Rudy Giuliani on. And Giuliani is who prosecuted him.
Who was the first user of the RICO statutes, by the way.
Destroyed them. But it was so cool to hear, you know, two sides of that, you know, same equation. And Giuliani went into how he came up with the idea, and it was actually from Joseph Bonanno. Because Joseph Bonanno had written a book, and he gave a family tree of, you know, when they came over, the original 5 families and how. And Giuliani said, okay, so that goes to 1963. That's RICO right there. He said, I just have to tie it to, you know, continue it to the 80s, and I've got RICO. And that, I mean, he's the one who destroyed the mob. It wasn't Gotti.
Right. But I'm saying, I mean, he started to mention the GOP investigation by her, the prosecutor from this, again, I think from the Southern District of New York, who went after Joe Biden and came up with a report. I mean, in that report, it lays out the Biden crime family. You know, he just says he's too old and senile to prosecute in front of a grand jury, blah, blah, blah. But Bill Maher just starts interrupting him, you know, calling foul, technical foul. I mean, just crazy that anybody would go on there.
Yeah, it's sometimes he can be enjoyable, but maybe I'm just nostalgic. But it's increasingly frustrating when you're like, just shut up, Bill.
You know, he had Oliver Stone on there, and Oliver Stone was talking about Ukraine, and I mean, he's made 2 documentaries about Ukraine, and he's trying to tell him, and he's going like, I never heard of any of this. This is what he's telling him. He's like dismissing Stone because he personally hasn't heard any of this. I mean, it's just astounding how anti-intellectual these people are.
Yeah, but you know, he's in good company. I don't know if you saw that segment over the weekend with Margaret Brennan.
Oh my God. Another incredible CBS Contessa.
No, yeah, Margaret Brennan, though, and oh God, I forgot the other one at CNN. Caitlin, I think something or another.
Right.
Are like they're neck and neck for the stupidest takes of the week all the time.
Caitlin used to be on Fox News, by the way. She was on the other side.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah. Oh, yeah. She came
great.
up through Fox. Yeah. But not Margaret Brennan. Brennan is a disciple of Nora O'Donnell and that crew at CBS of sea skanks that are over there. And by the way, I'm listening to John Dickerson's new book about his mother, Nancy Dickerson. And the book opens up when we talked about Nancy Dickerson on the show. She was the first Nora O'Donnell. She was the first Margaret Brennan. She started out at CBS News, later on went into NBC News. The first woman anchor woman in American history is Nancy Dickerson. Her son, John Dickerson, is now the anchor of CBS News because they got rid of the she-devils that were running it. So he's got a book about his mother, and he doesn't speak highly of his mother. So it's kind of fascinating. Grew up in total wealth. Not only did his mother have money from her TV stuff, the father had all kinds of businesses, and they grew up in mansions with Rolls Royces and everything else. And they were always having news crews coming in to do stories about her and her children, and they were raised like Kennedys. That was her model, was to make them into little Kennedy children. But the book opens with John Dickerson at the LBJ library listening to audio tapes of LBJ on the phone with his mother.
Oh, wow.
And if you look at our LBJ episodes, I'm not going to give it away, some incidents happen with LBJ and this guy's mother.
Well, so if you're talking about a female in LBJ, you kind of know where this is going.
Well, I'll just tell you this. I'll just tell you this. The audio tape he's referring to at the beginning of the book is her on the phone asking LBJ if he is going to buy her any more bathing suits. I swear to God, Hunley, I cracked up. Bathing suits was a code word that, no, he would buy them a bathing suit, actually, but he would make them try it on in front of him. Let me put it that way. And then somehow end up in the White House pool and some other hijinks. But it was a code word for having something to do with LBJ and Jumbo.
Wow. Well, I'm curious. Do you think that Elon may be buying any bathing suits for his? Yeah,
I don't know what He's got good taste. I can tell you that much. He's got good taste.
Well, come on. He was with Amber Heard, so.
Yeah, I mean, good taste visually. I don't know about psychotically. There's some people who think they're all crazy anyway, but good for him. I mean, if he's got the money and he doesn't mind paying and raising them, he's trying to repopulate the earth.
Well, and he is doing what I did find interesting about that is he appears to be doing it the hard way because she's claiming that it was IVF.
Okay, that's weird.
So it's like, so I guess he didn't.
How does that work?
I don't know.
By the way, Trump just signed a thing about IVF this morning, giving it the green light legally. He also signed a 2-week notice to end DEI at the nation's colleges and schools that receive federal money. Yep. Now, I looked up, a friend of mine is going to the University of Kansas, and we were talking about this, and I looked up the University of Kansas's budget by itself, how much money they receive from the federal government. This one university receives $324 million a year. One university of Kansas, that's the money that Trump is threatening to cut off if they don't get rid of DEI. And he told me this school is so DEI, he's studying remotely here in LA, and they're sending him memos to get his COVID vaccine. If he ever thinks about coming to the campus, he has to have it to get on the campus, which he's not doing because he's studying remotely.
Sure.
So that's all going to end because they're not giving up $324 million a year.
Well, Mark, I don't know if this is for sure, but I do believe that all financial aid is matched.
Oh, yeah.
By the feds.
Yeah.
So technically, everything, all the tuition is being paid for by financial aid.
Yeah.
Cut that in half, and that's what they're losing.
No one's going to do it. No one's
going to lose their asses.
And also, this ruled today, a federal judge ruled that indeed, for the final time, to drive a stake through this Supreme Court ruled situation that the Biden program to refund student loans is dead, even though he violated it twice, even though they he had 2 Supreme Court rulings telling him it was unconstitutional, was still dispensing money to pay back student loans so they can have student voters in November. Today, a judge ruled that that's dead. And also Chutkin ruled, I guess you must have heard this already, that they could go ahead, DOGE can continue to go into Social Security and other places.
Which is good. I mean, it's almost helpful that they are fighting this, because it's just showing the public, and they're getting a black eye.
Well, even in her ruling, it's something that Barnes was talking about on Sunday, and when he was on our show Friday, that the judges are going to have to get the message that they can't rule and have national bans on rulings. And she mentions that in her ruling, this chick, and she's getting hip to it because she doesn't want to get impeached. And Robert says impeachments are coming down the pike, even if they don't have.
And I agree with that. That's what I've been trying to say, is that the humiliation. Keep in mind, they're so prideful that I am an honor. Well, it's like, oh, you're smeared with an impeachment now. No, how
not only that
are you?
Yeah, you're completely correct. And not only that, the bar is so low for impeachment with the president's high crimes and misdemeanors. With a federal judge, it's just bad behavior, quote unquote, which is pretty broad and quite wide open.
Another reason I think for the impeachments, even though they can't be convicted and tossed per se, hopefully that'll freeze them forever so they don't make it to the next level.
Yes,
so if they're a federal judge and they don't get to the appeals, level,
it'll go on their permanent record, and they'll get double secret probation. There's no doubt about that.
And I'm all for that. Anything
double secret.
I prefer amplified public. But while we're talking about universities, I wanted to segue on this, because this just bugged the shit out of me, and some people might get annoyed with me for taking this side. But I don't know if you saw this. This girl there on the right, young woman, she was the president of the NYU College Republicans group.
Right.
So, student group, just typical kids or whatever.
What is that, 5 people?
Probably.
Yeah.
With Barron there, I'm sure it's a few more.
6.
But, well, no, he's not part of the group.
Oh, wow.
Well, she has been forced to resign from the chapter because she said something so awful. She said about Barron Trump. She said, he's an oddity on campus. He goes to class. He goes home.
That's what she said?
I kid you not. She said he's an oddity on campus.
Well, he doesn't live there like the rest of them. He doesn't.
Right, and he is. Let me see. Let me think about it. He's a president's son, sitting president. He's 6'9". He's got a tail of Secret Service that's going around.
Right.
No, you would call him the normality on campus.
Right.
I mean, she's just making an observation. And
so why did she resign? I don't understand.
Because she said oddity. And people are like, how dare you call him an oddity? And they're making fun of her appearance and everything else. I'm like, stop picking on this damn girl. We're supposed to be the side of not liking cancel culture. And
well, who's canceling her exactly, do you think?
She was forced to resign from the chapter. She resigned from there, and then they released a statement. The chapter said, we have been made aware of a statement made by the NYU chapter president that does not align with the values and principles upheld by our organizations.
What the hell?
Yes. Though Vanity Fair and the Independent unfairly framed what was said, upon review, we still found it to be inappropriate.
Even though she was misquoted by Vanity Fair?
But I don't even know it's not a bad quote. That's my thing.
No, but I'm saying, they're saying we realize that whatever the quote was misquoted by Vanity Fair, but nevertheless, we still are getting rid of her.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. And by the way, let's flip this around. Let's just take it the other way. And it was said about some leftists, and they got the leftists, forced somebody to resign. We'd be calling them a snowflake.
Wow. Be like, it's very snowflakey. It's very snowflakey. Let me put it that way.
And it is just ridiculous. Are you bored, Gnarly Jim? Well, go do something exciting.
Very strange. They're going after Mike Benz, by the way. I don't know if you know that now. NBC News. I am surprised. I thought he was under the radar. But apparently
he's on Joe Rogan twice within like a month. I mean,
he's not under my radar. He's not under
but the world. And Joe Rogan's more relevant than NBC News
again,
and all of them combined.
Relax there, dot face. I'm just saying. I'm just saying I didn't think that it rose to the level of the legacy media to attack somebody like this. But apparently he's inflicted enough pain, Eric, to where they have to try to destroy Mike Benz. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he's got Rogan calling him on. And, look at Joe Rogan, Horse-Paced Joe. I mean, they went after him like crazy. They are terrified of Joe Rogan because he has such a powerful platform. Speaking of which, I don't know if you saw 60 Minutes is just trying so hard.
Yeah, what is
to
with
lose
them?
their assets because
yeah.
Okay, JD Vance gives a pretty solid speech. I still haven't seen all of it, but what I have seen of it, I love his Greta Thunberg, a lot of the comments on it, and it's great. He's talking about free speech. 60 Minutes spent their whole hour praising and celebrating these German prosecutors who are giggling about, oh no, if you insult somebody online, the punishment can be worse, because if you insult me on the street, it's on the street, but if it's online, and I'm like, do you know the last group of Germans that like to punish people over their speech? There's a certain other group there.
I mean, I don't want to disparage the Germans, but why are they always in the middle of this shit?
Well, I'm going to go.
What is it about their national character that gives that guy glee to arrest someone for a meme, to go in?
They're the only country that they have the term Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
Nobody else has a term about taking joy out of somebody else's suffering. So that's my.
You don't have to convince me about the Germans. I'm no fan. I'm no fan. But 60 Minutes seems to be reveling in it, Eric.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the reporter, she's like, "Oh, that's just the greatest idea." And then, I mean, look at we start off with Margaret Brennan talking about that, and she's like, rampant free speech is what led to the Holocaust. What?
Yes, there was too much free speech. In fact, there were magazines like National Nazi Lampoon. That was the funny dark one. There was all kinds of bad magazines and free speech. And then they said, let's just kill 6 million Jews at the end of the day. I mean, it's so preposterous. And what's his name? Pushed back. Marco Rubio pushed back very.
Oh, it was very
well done, right?
Very well done. He pushed back like a Secretary of State. It was pure class.
Yeah,
he did not. He just said, "I have to disagree."
Are they just grasping at straws at this point?
Oh, they're just.
I mean, these things are so crazy, and they're just coming out of left field. These nutty tangents that they go down. It just makes me seem like they're at the end of their logical rope.
Yeah, I mean, they always say, what is it? The stuck pig squeals the most. But anyway, it's
her dog yelps the loudest.
It is bad news, and I can't believe it. Instead of just saying, okay, well, we got to keep a lower profile, how about we go bust some car dealers or something?
Right.
No, they're like, we're going to double down,
triple down.
We're going to sit there quietly or attack, and then oh God, listening to and you had the job. Yes, we had a job, and people don't know what they're going to do. It's somebody working at USAID.
Yeah,
and of course, who is it? It's a speechwriter to that woman who had $30 million. I mean, it is
Samantha Powers you're talking about?
Yeah, Samantha Powers. Sorry.
Oh, that woman was very powerful in the Obama administration. She was one of his chief advisors.
Yeah. Speaking of, oh God, on Two-Way, they brought up a good point about how Elon Musk has a template of somebody before him, and it's like Alicia Dunn or something like that.
Yeah.
Who worked for Biden.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. And I'm
also Clinton had Bill Clinton said we're going to go after this waste in government. He also made a template on how to deal with it. They're making it seem like this guy's the first guy to ever come up with this.
He's the first guy to actually do it.
The first guy to actually do it, but he's revealing the Democratic piggy bank that gives them the powers around the world and pays for all these insane things that have been going on. When I say insane, I don't mean trans basket weaving. That's obviously insane. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about wars and death and everything else going on in the Ukraine and going on around the world. This thing has been controlled by the Democrats since Obama. This basket of money that they seem to have at USAID, the State Department, now the Pentagon, now the IRS, now Social Security. This is not fraud and waste. People should not be deceived, because that is going to be, I believe that's going to be the pullback version by the Democrats, saying, there was waste, we're going to cut it out, and thank God you found it eventually. This is money by design, as Mike Benz has pointed out, money that they're using for their political agenda and to stay in power. It's not fraud and waste. And they're going to try to sell it to you in a limited hangout within a couple of weeks. When this thing gets so huge at the Pentagon, they're going to have no choice but to say, yes, there's fraud and waste, and we're glad to get rid of it. That's not the story. This was money they used for their political power. That's different than fraud and waste. That's different than the old Rand Paul or his father's list of insane items at the Pentagon, the $700 hammer. This is not the $700 hammer anymore, my friends.
I agree. Well, the really sad thing is it's all of these things. It's the goofy ass program. Yeah. It's the fraud. It's the waste. It's somebody put it really well. You have other elements there too. And I've been in the government. Okay. There are people who don't do shit and get paid.
Yeah.
That's massive waste. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you have this, you said, or USAID took it to a new level, because instead of just paying somebody to do nothing, which is just sort of like they said, throwing money out of a helicopter. It's bad, but it's even worse when you're paying somebody to effectively destroy the productivity of the department. So you're actually paying the wages to drain even further and to slaughter the soul. It's just.
I'll give you another prediction. I believe that the Kennedy family is going to attempt to take the Kennedy name off the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Caroline Kennedy went and met with Trump yesterday.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Caroline Kennedy snuck in there to meet with Trump yesterday. I believe that they're going to threaten to remove the Kennedy name. Not that he gives a shit.
No, he'd be like, okay.
I'm predicting that the Kennedy family will attempt to remove their name. And they tried to negotiate that with him the other day through her, and he couldn't care less what the name of the place is. They were as what's his name found out when he went in there. There's no money in there. There's nothing. It's completely bankrupt. They took every single cent. He sent in the former ambassador to Germany to take a look. And the talent doesn't want to be there doing DEI tranny story hour anymore. So you may begin to see some country acts at the Kennedy Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll be the Trump Center.
It'll maybe the Trump Center. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the funny part. It's like, take our name off of it. Well, Trump loves his name on stuff.
Yeah, he'll put his name on it. Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, they didn't complain also about, they're going berserk about the changing of these names now. They really didn't. I'm talking about the Gulf of Mexico Associated Press question that was in the press conference today. They questioned why you are going after the Associated Press and their style guide, which has a lot of liberal verbiage in their style guide. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a trick question, because Trump wasn't going after their style guide. The style guide, every news service and every newspaper has a style guide. And when you go to a publication like the LA Times, Associated Press, New York Times, they give you the style guide as a writer. Mm-hmm. And the style guide will have certain things like, we don't refer, and I'm just being general here, we don't refer to African Americans as Negroes anymore. We refer to them as African Americans, or we black has to have a capital letter.
Oxford commas. And
there's a million things, but there's political things in there. There's what the reporter referred to as liberal style. And Trump listened to it, and then he said, the Gulf of America is the law. They're not following the law, which was kind of an interesting thing. But the guy was alleging that Trump was fighting their whole style guide. And he started to think, and he said, that might not be a bad idea to go after the entire style guide. Now he planted it.
Never mind.
You can see Trump's seed. You can see his wheels turning in his brain going, the whole style guide might be corrupt and crazy.
You know what? I wonder if it's in the style guide that a person's race as a suspect cannot be put
Yeah,
in.
that's where it is.
I only as a victim.
Oh, no, Eric, I could put mine up as a PDF from the LA
Yeah,
Times, the LA Weekly. I have copies of mine from the old days, not that long ago, from the early 2000s, where you can't name the race of a suspect in an article. That became a thing like in 1998. You know, there's certain, and they kept reissuing new style guides every year. That's what this guy was referring to. But Trump was referring to the Gulf of Mexico versus the Gulf of America. But here's what I thought. They didn't say anything when Obama changed the name of Mount McKinley.
Nope.
They quickly adjusted their style.
They celebrated it.
The next, no, but I'm saying this is the same group, the Associated Press, that when he changed the name of Mount McKinley, they changed it in their style guide the next day, which I wish Trump would have pointed out, but it's a little bit too inside.
Well, it was in the moment. He answered pretty quickly as it was, and that wasn't a bad answer, like you said. It was like, well,
because he said to the guy, he said, "Where are you from?" After the question, the guy said, "Where are you from?" And he just smiled and he goes, "Good question." I don't even know where the guy was from, but he said that was a good question. He just smiled at him. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is completely off track, but I saw it and I was like, okay, we at long last, possibly Jack the Ripper's identity may be revealed.
What, he mailed him his identity in that envelope, or is that an envelope from a DNA company? Or
DNA
something?
results.
Oh, I see. Right.
So this author had paid for and got a hold of the shawl of the
shawl of Iran,
the last victim.
Okay.
And there was blood from the victim, obviously, on the shawl, and they matched that blood to a direct descendant.
Okay.
So that's pretty solid. You know, if first you got to say, is this really that victim? Yes. Okay. Descendant, boom, boom, boom. And when there's also semen on there, and they matched the semen to Aaron Kosminski, who was the Polish immigrant. I think he might have been the butcher apprentice. He's been known for a long time.
All right.
It was an actual butcher. And that's part of the reason they said that, you know, he had the ability to understand how to separate bone
from meat.
Right. And whatever. This guy's long suspected. One problem with the whole thing, though, just to point it out, is there are claims that this guy has been a little bit shady.
Who, Kaminsky or this guy?
This guy.
Right.
And so I don't know for sure. Like, he may have faked some evidence or a skull in the past.
Let me give him my rule of thumb is, if it's an author, take it with a grain of salt. And we talked about this 2 weeks ago when the British author convinced Marina Oswald to excavate the body of Lee Harvey Oswald. And she bought into it. Then they did the whole autopsy again. He sold a book called The Oswald File, British writer, probably MI6. And she went along with it. And the autopsy showed that it was he had said that a KGB agent was in the grave and not Oswald. And everybody bought into it because he was British and had an accent. And he had some success with other books. And of course, it was a complete fraud.
And I guess we always have to look at the incentives. Like, if a family, if a family comes out and says, we have this DNA and it's probably more believable, because if it doesn't test right or the story doesn't work right, that book will never sell. So the incentive is,
it's like this guy, Stephen Greer, who keeps going on TV talking about the aliens are going to be here any day now. And every day goes by where there's no aliens. He's on Newsmax every other week. And I'm just going, you know, I talked to a friend of mine who knows him pretty well and says the guy's a complete fraud. You pay to go out in the desert and his underlings are behind a sand dune with lanterns saying they're right in back of the sand dune. And people go on these safaris in Area 51. The guy's been exposed as a fraud. And I'm thinking to myself, how is he getting on the news again, this Stephen Greer?
So what you're saying is that he's a Scooby-Doo episode.
He's a Scooby-Doo episode. And I'll tell you something else. It's kind of like, I forget who the magician was, the Amazing Randy, who went around exposing, he went around exposing frauds in the magic world, as did Houdini. with spiritualists in the early 1920s. That's how Houdini dedicated his life to that. But this guy told me he knows Greer, he's done some work with him, and he told me the guy's a complete fraud. So I believe this guy immensely. Because this guy,
I think I know who it is, and
I can't say, but it is who it is, and I don't know how he keeps getting on Newsmax saying the aliens will be here next week, and next week goes by, and he goes, well, I've heard that they're busy with an interstellar adaptation of their magnetic module. You go, what the? Are you kidding me, bro?
I don't understand why a news channel or network would ever platform. I hate the term platforming, but this is a case where it's appropriate because you're embarrassing yourselves. If you keep putting the same guy up, and
this guy Finnerty keeps putting him on, and I'm waiting for Finnerty to come down on him hard and just go, look, bro, you've been on 6 times. You got to come up with something. Come on, man. But he doesn't. He just goes, can't wait to see you next time, Stephen. This is great stuff. And I'm just like, holy crap.
Wait, is Finnerty back? I thought he was gone.
He was missing, and now he's back. No explanation. He was gone for, I want to say, 6 days. He missed like 4 nights of shows. Everybody covered for him, or one guy covered for him, and then he came back.
Okay.
Usually you say, I was on vacation. Nothing.
All right. Well, I don't know.
Okay. But he was missing.
Stephen McMahon said, is there a way to clue Larange into the importance of finding LHO and Ruth Payne's payments?
I agree, Stephen. I love that to happen. I don't know about Larange, but Musk or any of the people.
Yeah, it's like while you're there.
Yeah, I mean, of any 2 tax returns that would be enormously important in this file stuff. The files, like I said, are scattered all over the government, and I meant including IRS files that are at the IRS that might not be in the CIA. They might be in the CIA, they might be a file, but I think those have long been purged. The IRS ones, as what I heard the other day, is there's a group of permanent bureaucrats who guard the files of people they never want to release the IRS returns from. And there's like a special section of those, and that covers a broad spectrum, politics and whatever else. But somehow they released the Trump ones to the New York Times.
Yeah, they leaked those.
Yeah.
Never mind. They
came from the same place.
Of course. CM Books, what about the Chuck-in ruling for Trump and DOGE today?
We were just talking
about that.
We talked at the beginning of the show.
That was 10 minutes in. So
10 minutes in, we I think that like Barnes is talking about, they may be running scared.
Well, yes, I hope so. When Elon is the one out there saying we need to impeach judges, and then we have a congressman who did start writing up impeachment papers on judges.
Don't take the fake out, because they may be bluffing the judges.
No, don't fake. Just do it.
Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, bro. Don't you keep your head down. Fill out the papers. Take 1 or 2 or 3 and do it.
Yeah, and you know what? And go after, even if they back off, still do it.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. And her name should be on the list, Judkin.
100%. Pamela, happy Tuesday, guys. So many things happening so fast. Yes, I can't even keep up.
Whew.
David March. Hey, Mark, just watched Louis Ferrante on Piers Morgan. In your opinion, is he an honest actor or plant on the JFK? He's trying to frame the mob. Fishy.
Okay. Let me tell you this. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never heard of him in my life. That's the first thing I have to tell you. Second thing, anything with the mob is a limited hangout. I hope that helps you.
All right.
Okay.
It's never going to end.
They keep taking the bait. That's why they keep putting the bait in the water. Because there's so many people who just go, hey, the mob did it, man. There's a guy, Ferrante, and he said that he was
with Charles Harrelson.
He was with this guy. I mean, look, if you're the murderer of the president of the United States, your organization, wouldn't it benefit you to say the mob did it? I mean, just think about it, folks.
And if you're CIA.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, I mean.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
everybody. Oh, okay, well, let's go ahead and look at this. Robert O'Neill. I know you've heard of this guy. He is the SEAL that allegedly took out bin Laden. Apparently, he is now selling weed.
Okay,
and he's got
but legitimately, right? Or
he's launched Operator Kenna. It's his own cannabis.
God bless
line.
him. God bless him.
I've got to ask you, because it's just something that I don't talk about a lot, but I've always had questions about whether that really went down like they said about bin Laden.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll tell you why.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because they say, okay, boom, they took him out, and then they immediately threw the body.
I know.
Now,
I know.
Keep in mind, Uday and Kusei, they drew a lot of controversy, but they showed both of them.
Yeah.
And why did they show both of them? Well, because a lot of people in that part of the world do not believe shit you tell them unless you say, hey, here you go.
Hence Saddam's video. Oh, hence the Saddam video.
Yes. But we're
the
very
Gaddafi
careful.
Video.
But yet bin Laden, we just, boom, he's gone.
Power. The answer is 2 words: powerful family.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the answer. The answer is powerful family. That being said, I don't know what this guy's doing in the marijuana business, but God bless him if he can make some money doing that. I guess.
He's selling it as a way for veterans to handle what's been happening with them, and that's kind of a challenging. I don't know if you agree with all that. It's kind of like the
I don't.
The mushrooms and whatever else.
Yeah, I don't. It's just so immensely powerful. And PTSD is so complicated and complex that to self-medicate is extremely dangerous. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, and I would personally worry about it. Now, well, we'll get somebody who is definitely not heroic. Let's talk about the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live, which was on Sunday. And we had, of course, this legendary performance here from Tom Hanks. Wow. Just shitting on every Republican out there.
So dark, man.
Did you see that little bit he did?
Yeah, I did see the bit, but I also saw a bit by Shipwreck, who did a montage of stuff just completely dismantling him on Twitter. What a rant by Shipwreck, alleging all kinds of Adelphalia.
Isaac Cappy must have come up.
Yeah, I wish I could have ran it. We saved it because
Isaac Cappy was a guy kind of with odd hair or whatever who took himself out, but right before he did, he laid claims about Tom Hanks.
Yeah, now
in a video that is
viral. So Shipwreck has a viral rant about her take on him in response to this. Now, that being said, over 15 years ago, Oliver Stone told me that Tom Hanks was owned by the spooks and they made him who he is, and he made a deal with the devil, like Robert Johnson going down to the crossroads and became a spook adjacent actor, doing all kinds of work for the spooks. 15 years ago, Stone told me that. So I'm not, he didn't mention the stuff that you're mentioning. He just told me the guy was owned by the spooks.
Well, I just want to, like the Isaac Cappy stuff is kind of like, kind of tied in with like the pizza thing. That So, but yeah, Tom Hanks.
Anyway, somebody sent him out there to do that thing. That phone rang and he went and did that SNL thing. Taylor Swift, with her social media, has to put out the register to vote, support Kamala Harris. All that stuff is done by the intelligence organizations. And Taylor Swift is a lot bigger than Tom Hanks, in terms of followers. And that's what I'm talking about. And you also have, if you go back, I'll give you a great example, which nobody even remembers. Pussy Riot, completely owned by the spooks and the Central Intelligence Agency.
Now they had to be almost a test case, right? Because they were much smaller, not as
well. It was over there. It was, they took this band over there and they tried to give them some fame and money, and they said, "Here's what you're going to have to do to earn it." I mean, if you read their lyrics, like Benz was pointing out, he's bringing these 22 rappers from around the world under the USAID umbrella. We talked about it in CIA and the Arts in that episode from the 1950s and 60s. There is a fantastic documentary that I'll recommend called Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. It won the 2024 Sundance Award. It's a French documentary about the assassination of Patrice Lumumba in the Congo and the coup d'etat in the Congo, and how we were sending black jazz guys around the world in the 50s and early 60s as part of our CIA operations to infiltrate these countries, and specifically in Africa. And one of the guys finds out about it and leaves. And his name is Louis Armstrong, the greatest trumpet player in the history of the United States. And he storms out of the Congo. Patrice Lumumba is eventually assassinated under the Kennedy administration, but the assassination plans begin under the Eisenhower administration. And in this documentary, all these ex-CIA guys are just talking about it openly and freely in the doc. Highly recommended. Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. It should be on Prime, and it is a beautifully shot art film. It is much more than a documentary. It is a work of art, incredibly great music, incredible graphics. This is not your father's documentaries anymore. This is a French product, so it's really well done. That I don't know.
It was about the Scorpions. Do you remember the band, the Scorpions?
Yeah, somebody mentioned that to me the other day about the Scorpions bringing down the wall.
Yeah, they were actually a CIA band or something. I have never seen that. It's one of those that keeps popping up, but if anyone,
Legs McNeil went to cover the Scorpions for, I think, Spin. My ex-roommate Legs McNeil wrote the book Please Kill Me. Went to cover the Scorpions one time. He got drunk with them and ended up in a harness. He came out of a blackout in a harness 75 feet above the stage, being swung around by the Scorpions with a crowd chanting, "Go, go, go." And that's what they did to Legs McNeil, the Scorpions.
And I'm going to say then he said, okay, I need to clean up.
I don't know if that was the end of Legs McNeil or what. I might have been near the end. It might have been near the end. But he said he came out of a blackout in a harness 100 feet above the crowd, being swung around by the Scorpions with the crowd chanting.
You know what? If he's ever going to do a biography on his life,
yeah,
that's the opening scene.
Well, that would be a great opening scene. But he also is the one who told me about Doris Kearns Goodwin sleeping with LBJ because she told him so. It's 1 degree of separation between me and Doris.
Oh, you've got like 1 to 0 degrees of separation between you and every damn buddy, it seems. Never mind Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, never mind Kevin Bacon. That's funny.
You probably know him.
You know, I don't know Kevin Bacon. I've seen him around, but I don't know the guy. And but Legs and I did live together, so I know Legs.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, if you did live with him. All right. Well, I saw this. I thought it was encouraging. It's not just us who are pissing away everything. Apparently, Britain is wasting billions on foreign projects like shrimp farms in Bangladesh and electric Porsches for Albanian jails.
Wow!
Miss out. So it's a nice tradition that they also are doing. So,
should I do this show? What should I do? This is from Drew Pinsky's wife. She's doing a show on psychics tomorrow called Calling Out. She wants me to be on about psychics or something, about a deep dive into Wendy Williams. So I guess I'll have to get back to her after the show.
Please do.
I will be doing Emerald Robinson tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday, I'm doing two guys called the Jackman Brothers, who are these big twins who have a big podcast up in Maine. I don't know if you know who these guys are. They worked for RFK's campaign, big friends of Tulsi Gabbard, political guys. They have, they're twins, the Jackman twins. Again, you know as much as I do. So
there's so many people who are huge that I don't know. I mean, I didn't know who Valuetainment was until like 2 or 3 years ago. So, I mean, there's lots of big shows that I just don't know. But
yeah, no, I didn't know either, but they reached out. So I'm doing their show Thursday. And then I'll, of course, do Greg Budell, the radio show on Thursday. And then this Emerald Robinson thing. You know, these are like 15 minutes. The one with the Jackman Brothers, I think, might be a whole show. They seem to be a huge fan of the show, Eric.
Well,
they're
great.
Kennedy assassination buffs.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that's
they
awesome.
they seem to know their shit. You know, there are people who know their shit who can talk to you about the, you know, minutia of the assassination, and then there are these people who don't know anything. You know, just
And
asking.
both are represented on this show right now.
Right. We have both extreme there. And when we started this thing, I wanted it to be a graduate program of just the, you know, to really get in the weeds and not get into the broad strokes, because we're way past that. At least I'm way past that. I don't have the time for it. And for the most part, we have gone to the graduate level, in my humble opinion, on the JFK assassination and the RFK assassination. But there are people who don't know, who are just getting started, you know, and I suggest that they start somewhere else, because if you start here, it's going to be pretty confusing, because we're so deep in the weeds that it can make your head spin around, you know.
Yeah, don't I know it?
Yeah. Oh, you learned on the job.
Yeah, I'm learning under fire. But
well, we're going to have Marguerite Oswald. The reason I mentioned that on Tuesday, Oswald's mother, which is a fascinating character, one of the first ones to literally say there was a conspiracy, and her son was a CIA operative, protected by the CIA. You know, we have good video on Marguerite, and they tried to destroy her right out of the gate, because she would not take the money that was going to Marina Oswald. And they cut off the money. They try to buy her, and then they try to bankrupt her and then smear her as a psycho. And that was done with 2 or 3 books they paid to have written about Marguerite Oswald. She's far from a psycho. She's actually quite brilliant, and she knew her son worked with the CIA from day one. And they had to shut this woman up. They had to shut her up. But she hires Mark Lane and is represented by him. But there's videos of her talking about, just to give you a preview of the show, 1957, 58, she's already, it's 1960, going to the State Department herself, physically flying to DC, saying, I haven't heard from my son in 20 months, and I want you to tell me and hook me up with him. And within a week, she got a letter from her son, who was the defector. And she says, if my son was a defector, why wasn't the FBI following him in Dallas? If they claim he was such a bad person, she says sarcastically, they would both be alive today. If the FBI had done their job, and he is who they say he was, why weren't they tailing him the whole time? Which is an interesting, provocative question. And then she says, after Jack Ruby was sentenced, she said, I'm opposed to the death penalty. I think Jack Ruby should be given life without parole. And she said, I hope he contacts me at some point.
Wow. Okay. I want to circle back to where we were a minute ago. Drew's wife, Wendy Williams. This is the talk show host, Wendy Williams, she wants to talk about. I have a question on her. But go on.
Okay. Well, I don't know what she wants to talk about, but Wendy Williams is now being freed because of, what's his name from TMZ, Harvey Levin, has spent hours and hours and hours to get this thing overturned, this conservation thing, a conservatorship that she had, not unlike, just like Britney Spears.
Yeah.
But this is a grown-ass woman who's got an alcohol problem. And
that was my question for you, because they diagnosed her as having the displace, whatever. Bruce Willis has it.
Yeah.
But according to Levin, because I saw a bit on, I wanted to ask you about it, he said that there is an alcoholic version of it.
It's called, he says she doesn't have it. First of all, that's what
he's saying. She has the alcohol version, but it's different. Like
he says that she's an alcoholic who's sober. That's what his claim is, Harvey Levin. Now, there is a thing, the scientific name, and it's actually in the street vernacular, called wet brain. And that's when the alcoholism has progressed so far that it's a type of dementia. And I think Dr. Drew can back me up with the scientific name, which I don't recall. But
frontotemporal dementia.
Yes. And she is quite coherent and hasn't been out in months. And she claims that her family was robbing her money. And that's why they did this. Britney Spears, in a way, was kind of similar, but Britney Spears was a train wreck. It was a train wreck waiting to happen from crystal meth. This Wendy Williams thing is a horse of another color here, I think.
So, is it possible that it's going to sound tacky, but the wet brain can be dried out?
No, it's not reversible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the Britney Spears, judging from the videos that I've seen her release on her Instagram,
yeah.
she's not out of the woods yet.
Oh, no. I said it's progressive. The disease is progressive. Everybody knows that. It doesn't sleep because you stop. It progresses regardless of what you're doing, unless you're treating it. And I said the conservatorship might be a death sentence for her. The ending of the conservatorship might be a death sentence for her.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll be curious, especially about the Wendy Williams, if that was the angle that, she was going to be going.
Something about psychics. I didn't read the full text there.
Well, yeah, you're the guy I talked to about psychics.
Yeah, I don't know much about psychics, other than I would recommend a movie that's got gypsies in it called Nosferatu, shot entirely in Romania, with the Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter, and Bill Skarsgård as the vampire. Fantastic art film. Apparently not nominated for any creative awards other than the technical awards of costuming, cinematography, lighting, but no other awards because it's missing one. It's set in Germany in 1839, and it's missing one type of person that's now mandatory in the quota system of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences because there were none in the story. So hence, the nominations have to go to Amelia Perez and Honora and some of these other films that have met the quota system. As people had predicted, these lesser films are now being elevated because they meet the quota system, the racial quota system of the Academy, while better films are being demoted because they don't.
Yeah.
And this is one of them, by the way. This is one of them. I highly recommend the new Nosferatu from this year in 2024.
All right. Speaking of horrors, you sent me this. A tourist loses both hands trying to take a photo with a shark in Turks and Caicos.
Okay, yeah. This is one of those selfies that goes bad because she's in the water and the shark is in like really close to the land. And she's in there trying to get the shark to do things in ankle deep or, shallow water for a selfie with the shark. And the shark had other ideas. So he ate
not that far
off.
different than the selfie on the cliff.
Yes, this was the shark selfie. It ate her hands off. I guess the shark had a non-disclosure agreement or something with the press, and he didn't want to be filmed and took her hands off.
And by the way, folks, you are wrong. It's not a Darwin Award. She's still with us.
Oh, yeah. She just lost her hands.
You have to remove yourself from the planet to
get the
win the award.
Yeah.
Now, you could be honorable mention, but you can't get the award. Sorry.
Also, I saw a film last night, 2003, I think it is, called Pray for Rock and Roll. And it's a little indie movie film, which is a really great rock film set in LA in the 80s, but it's made in 2003, starring Lori Petty, Andrea Matteo, and Gina Gershon in a punk rock band that's performing their own music in the movie. I think Gershon was one of the producers. Really a rough and tumble indie film about this real, not a real band, but I mean this band that's made for the film. But really, really recommend this film. It's really, really visceral, and the music's real. So it's kind of interesting.
And it's decent?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the music's decent.
The music's great. That's what I'm saying. They're playing their own music. They had someone write the songs. There's a bunch of different punk rockers in there who are LA figures who drift through this thing. I don't have to tell you who they are, but John Doe's in there, and X and some other people are in there in the movie itself, and it reads really well.
All right. You sent me this about the tech genius leader of the vegan trans cult. He looks like a nice guy.
Oh my God! You got to credit Andy No for this. The Seattle activist, anti-Antifa guy, who's been tracking this cult of trans murderers. You can't make this up. Trans killers that are in a cult, killing people across the country. And they got the leader the other day. That's the leader there. Started up in Silicon Valley and was spreading across the country, killing all kinds of different people for I don't know what reason, other than they're in a trans death cult. And Andy No, the author, activist, anti-Antifa guy, has been screaming about this for a number of months. And they made an arrest of this guy the other day.
That is pretty good, Judy Pratt. Would we know if it weren't for Andy?
No, we wouldn't know anything about this. I mean, Andy, I have his book. I read his last book. Fantastic expose on Antifa in Portland. That was his beat as a reporter.
Oh, he's bled for it too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's on their death list. They've been going after him for a number of years. I think they killed someone else because they thought it was him.
He definitely is put himself out there and done real work on the Antifa. Nobody knows more about Antifa than Andy No, I believe.
And No being spelled NGO, spelled NGO.
Right. And you walk by the decent pun though. Would we NGO if it weren't for Andy?
No.
No,
we wouldn't.
All right. Scott Bimbo, by the way, said, hello, gentlemen. Been on a sabbatical in one of those places that search your suitcase.
Whoa.
Previous guests don't log out. Got you 13 subscriptions.
Wow.
It was a gold mine. That's it. Yeah, maybe you're the one who took us over 121,000
right
now.
They must have a big board at YouTube with the numbers, and it says like 120,999, 120,009, and they're just sitting there looking at it going, all right, put it up there. Give them another one. Make it 121. Who gives a shit at this point?
Yep. Let's see. Jan McGill. Can I name the nationality of the guys who tried to make me take off a MAGA hat in a bar here in Helsinki? I refused, and the cowards backed off.
Can I name the nationality of the guys who tried to make me take off a MAGA hat?
Sorry.
A bar in Helsinki. You said, are they Finnish or what?
I'm going to say they're probably Germans.
Oh, I see what you're saying, John. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's invade Germany. I mean, I'd like to invade the UK to liberate them. But Germany, look, all bets are off at this point.
We're already there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on their bases. We're their army. It should take too long.
New base in this new base in Romania, by the way, is 100 times the size, from what I understand, of Ramstein in Germany. This is going to be the biggest NATO base in the world by 100 times. It completely faces the Black Sea, looking at Crimea. And I predict that Putin is going to try to negotiate regarding that base, looking down his neck. This is what led Khrushchev into the Cuban Missile Crisis, was the missiles in Turkey that he was able to see with binoculars pointed at him from his dacha on the Black Sea in 1958. Which led to the Cuban Missile Crisis and the removal of those Turkish nuclear missiles pointed at him. And I think Putin's going to have the same take on it when he meets with either General Kellogg or this new guy who Trump has sent over, Witkoff, the real estate guy.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they'd be part of the negotiations now, but they're already talking in Saudi, so I'm sure.
Yeah.
Groundwork is being laid.
Dude, this meeting with Rubio was like 5.5 hours just to get started with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's about Gaza.
We got a lot of time to make up for here.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Trump basically said today. This war, he had a line. He said this war could have been solved by a lower level schnook negotiator, a bad negotiator. That's how simple it is to solve this thing. This could have been settled years ago.
Yeah. George Toth with the $3 super sticker. Thank you. Basil Bashkov. I thought I was living in the USA, not the USAID.
Yeah, one of the things Michael Benn says is the use of AID was also a psyop because people started to say U.S. aid, and that was part of the brilliance of that psyop, just as a phrase of the name of the Agency for International Development.
Well, the left loves names.
They love USAID too.
No, but all names. I mean, that's a specialty. Naming things to sound innocuous and to sound sound like another thing. I mean, that's
I was mocked because I said that Tucker's father worked for USAID, and somebody said it's not on his Wikipedia page, bro. And I said, well, Tucker just said it himself, so I don't know about Wikipedia, but his son just admitted it on his own show. So you have the guy from Voice of America, his father, and the guy from USAID, his father. I mean, tell me more about his father, because I'm interested in Dick Carlson. What kind of a spook this guy was.
I just saw something, speaking of Tucker, that was very interesting. He had a little clip talking about Megyn Kelly and himself or whatever. And he was talking about when he lost his job at Fox. And he said in it, much to be contrary to the rumor, but I don't have a lot of money. I was like, oh, really?
How do you define a lot of money? How do you define
he's denying his inheritance.
Oh, his class?
Yeah. I was like,
for the love of God.
I was like, whoa, he's never denied it before. He's always been a very forthcoming about being a rich ass preppy. Yeah. But now it's like, are you backing away from that?
Weird. Good luck with that. I think his father, when he remarried, he married the heir to Bird's Eye Food.
Right. And the first wife,
frozen food. Too. Yeah. The first one had money also. Not that his father did. His father didn't, but his father ended up married well and also had a number of high-paying jobs.
Yeah, I mean, anyway. Let me see. John McGill, the Finnish press had kind things to say about J.D. Vance, which took balls, as there's lots of Trump haters here in Europe. That does take balls.
It does take balls, but they've got to live. If you form an alliance between Putin and Trump, which looks like it's happening, what planet do you live on if you're opposed to both of those forces? What subplanet do you have to coexist on if you're against Putin and Trump together?
I agree. Well, and I'm going to say, though, I think the Finns have balls, period. I mean, they were living next to Russia. World War II, they held their own.
Yeah.
They've always held their own. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the Finns. They're a pretty squared away family. Bass player 2011 FI. We will never know who Jack the Ripper was. Every 10 or so years, somebody claims they know who he was, and it never stands up to speak.
It's because of financial reasons. If somebody comes along who has no financial stake in it, I'll listen to them more intently. It's the same thing with the JFK assassination.
And now Zodiac.
If you've got what's that?
And Zodiac and
the same thing with Zodiac. But I mean, if you have a new book coming out, like with this Secret Service agent who found the $3.99 on the back of the limousine and then went around with a handler, for a year selling this book. Come on, bro. Come on.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, did you see this article?
I don't know.
NBC pundit points out Trump's air traffic controller cuts in plane crash coverage for a Canadian plane wreck.
Yeah. Well, there was Eric Swalwell stupidly came out and said that no president has had as many plane crashes under his administration so early, and they immediately showed that Joe Biden had 10 times as many in the same time period. So Swalwell again made a schmuck out of himself. I don't know what happened up there, but my father told me as a kid, his only advice to me was don't land at LaGuardia in the winter, son. And this plane essentially tried to land at LaGuardia in the winter, and it was up in Toronto. But the analogy is the same. The runway at LaGuardia is one of the shortest around, and gets icy and cold in the winter. And things like this happen at LaGuardia. You end up in the Jamaica Bay.
Let's just say, though, I see that kind of thing. I'm like, I'm supposed to fly in April. Oh my God.
No, well, it's not. It's not January in Toronto, Eric. Is the point?
No, I get it. It still freaks me out a bit.
Here. Oh, come on. For the most part, it's fairly safe.
Oh, thank you.
What's dangerous is the people on board who may.
Since the guy who's like, thank God I'm going to drive. He's like, what are you talking about?
That's my new rule, bro. That's my new rule. If I could drive, I drive. It has nothing to do with airline safety. I'm flying in 2 weeks to go down to Glendale to see the Dodgers. I'm going to fly to Phoenix. So I take, depends where I'm going. Phoenix is 6 hours, and going to Vegas, I could do a lot quicker.
Well, yeah, Vegas is
I could do it in 3 hours, right? Yeah. So I kind of once it gets past 6, driving wise, I begin to look at airlines. I don't like to go past 6, 7 hours driving.
All right. Dog Boy says can't wait for Cash Patel Thursday and Epstein list.
Again, I don't know other than the flight logs what kind of Epstein list there is. To me, and this is just my people start saying it's Giselle Maxwell's little black book, apparently, right? So we'll see.
Yeah,
Ghislaine Maxwell, but the flight log, I think, is damning enough, right, Eric?
Well, I mean, it's not helpful,
right?
That's for sure. I mean, what Tom Hanks, I guess, is on there too.
Yeah,
but everybody.
Bill Gates is on there. Right. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's on there. How do you know who's doing what to who?
I think it would be a matter of frequency.
Okay.
That might be, I'm just saying that could be a helpful thing. It's like,
okay.
Well, because like from what I understand, Trump has been on there, but there was a little bit of like a catching a ride with your neighbor when you're going to the same place.
Neighboring island.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, oh, you're going there? Oh, well, I'm going there too. I'll pick you up. We can carpool. They're plane pooling on occasion.
Yeah, plane pool.
So sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Dog Boy said PTSD will be defined as a real illness in 25 years.
I said this morning, right in my own home, to someone. I believe it's going to be in the PDR, and I don't think it's going to be 25 years. I think it's going to be 5 years, and it's going to be in the physician's desk reference as a legitimate disease, and I'm sticking with that.
Now, we're not talking about typo of PTSD.
I'm talking about Trump derangement syndrome. I'm talking about TDS. I'm talking about PTSD. Yeah. PTSD, I don't know what that was.
Is already in there.
Oh, no, of course. But I'm talking about Trump derangement syndrome is going to end up in the physician's desk reference, the PDR, and within 5 years, I predict, as a legitimate mental illness.
It should.
Yeah, I think it will.
I mean, it is completely bonkers. Okay, here I want to light a lighter story, and I know you'll be able to tell me about this because I didn't even look into it. Your old mayor having a divorce settlement.
Oh boy. Okay, so today, remember that sheriff from San Bernardino County who had the run-in with the Trump assassin who was actually not an assassin?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that weird Republican sheriff threw in his hat for governor yesterday to run for governor of California. That guy who's a sketchy, weird dude. This guy, Villagrosa, was the mayor of LA. He's also running for governor of California. Now, he's getting divorced from his wife, and they had to settle accounts of who got what.
Now,
he ended up
borrow half her name.
No. This is not the same one. That was the wife before. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you. This guy, his real name is Vilar. Her name was Grosia. So they became Villagrosia. It became one name. And this one here, as part of the divorce settlement, they said you could never use Villagrosa as a name for any of your businesses that she was thinking of starting. And they got word that she was going to use the name to start businesses. So in the divorce settlement, he gets the Netflix account and she gets this car. He gets a house. She gets to not use his name. The divorce settlement gets into the weeds about what actually individual things they're getting. But the previous wife, who was Grosia, and he was Vilar, and they became Villagrosia together. Okay, the reason they did that was because his father, the original Tony Vilar, was a convicted pedophile guy who was convicted and in prison and a sex offender, and he wanted to distance himself from the name. And that's why he did it with his wife, and they became one name.
Oh, I thought it was to sound more Latin sounding or something.
No. He had to get away from the Google search of his name that led to his dad.
Oof.
Yes, that's who this guy is. Anyway, so he's running for governor. Tony Villagrosa, and the weird sheriff from San Bernardino, Riverside, is running on the Republican side so far. So we'll see what happens because Rick Grinnell, the former ambassador to Germany under Trump, who's now taken over the Kennedy Center in D.C. By the way, Rick Grinnell is the one running the Kennedy Center. He's also in charge of the fire money out here. Rick Grinnell. He's also saying that he may run for governor to cockblock Kamala Harris.
Ooh.
And Nicole Shanahan has famously said that if
which I'm all for,
Harris runs, that she's going to run against Harris. So I'm rooting for Rick Grinnell, some crazy sheriff from Riverside, even this guy Steve Hilton, who's British with a bald head from used to be on CNN. He's running for governor. Another Republican guy is running. So who knows how this is going to shake out?
Could that backfire?
Yes.
By having too many people going, that she squeaks out on top because of a runoff type of situation? Oh.
Well, it's two different primaries. I mean, they're going to have to settle a Republican candidate on their own.
Wow. Okay, I don't know why I had that. Let's see what. Let's talk about this storm coming up. The big freeze now.
Oh yeah, put it. I meant to ask people. I don't know where you are, but put up the temperature in the chat or in the comment section of where you are tonight, because it's all over the map. And if people following the show, just put up the actual temperature of where you live, and please tell us where it is. So just don't put up -10. Tell us where you live so we can understand what's going on out there.
And if it's going on yet. Like I know it's going to be going on, I believe, tomorrow here. I think it's going across the country.
Right.
So it's in the, I don't know, 30 something here right now.
36.
Oh, wow. 36 right now.
Wow.
And it'll be down in the 20s. I guess.
Put up your place and temperature where you live and what the temperature is.
That's funny.
What?
Bella on the Bayou said 70, Florida.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There you go.
That's funny. That's the same. That's the same here.
Oh, yeah. We got some Canadians. Negative 41, Saskatchewan.
Oh, that's nothing to them. Come on.
That's getting close to the temperature where Celsius and Fahrenheit align. I forget the exact number, but
good day for broom hockey up there in Saskatchewan. Good night for broom hockey. I mean, I lived in upstate New York, and we used to get a bunch of cars, put them on a lake, turn on the headlights, and play broom hockey at night. And that was pretty far up. I mean, we lived in the mountains there, but they do all this stuff. What about the hockey team fighting with the hockey team over the national anthem? I mean, what is going on up there, people? I mean, please
Is it nice that there's a sport that's still allowed?
As Viva said, I mean, it's hard to imagine bare knuckle fighting in modern day sports. And yet this is what happened 3 times, apparently, in the same game.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that we're getting some pride back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
well, beating up on Canadians, I don't know if that's fair.
All right. Let me see. Martha Weib or Weeby. Mark, does JFK Jr. have ties to Scientology?
Never heard of any.
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that.
No.
All right, Al Gonzalez. Hearing from sources in New York City that if Zelensky insists on getting in the way of a peace settlement, that he could be indicted by a federal grand jury for financial fraud.
Thanks, Al. They asked Trump about this today, and he said he had 3.5 years to open his mouth. He didn't say anything. And he said, we don't need him for this peace process. I mean, he kicked, and then he denounced the entire state of Ukraine, saying he's there's no elections there. It's martial law. This is from Trump today. Just to put Zelensky in his place, like Gonzalez was saying, this guy's on thin ice, to go back to the broom hockey analogy. He is really, really on thin ice in terms of what he thinks his power is in this process.
Sounds that way.
Yeah.
Scott Harmon, have you guys watched the series Candace Owens did on Macron's wife? Super interesting with Jesuit ties right up Mark's alley.
I don't watch Candace Owens, bro. We're done. We're done with her. She's just going to in free fall at this point, bro.
Yeah, she has a lot of people who like her. I'm sure she'll be just
good
fine
luck.
without us.
Good luck. She doesn't need us.
Nope. George Orwell, gentlemen, on another thought. What odds do you give that the current value of Fort Knox is exact to the penny?
1 trillion to 1. And it may be empty. This might be Geraldo Rivera's
Al Capone vault.
Al Capone's vault. I mean, this may go in there and there's nothing in there, Eric, with just an IOU. I mean, there may not be any gold at all in that place.
I wouldn't be surprised. We haven't been on the gold standard in forever. But by the way, there will be no more pennies because Trump stopped the.
Oh, that's a terrible thing. Stop gloating over your pennyphilia. You know what you are? You're a pennyphilia.
What is that?
I just made it up. That's what I do. I just made it up.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Don't quit your day job. No. Dog boy. Post-Trump derangement syndrome. My sister has it, and so do half of our friends and relatives. Where rational is trumped by hate, even if it hurts them.
Right. Well, I don't think it's post anything. It's just Trump derangement syndrome. It's not post.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was a little
confusing. That was a little confusing. Yeah. I mean, TDS is a real thing. And as I said on Twitter last week, there's the sub genre called MDS, which is Musk derangement syndrome now.
Oh, it's a new one.
MDS.
Yeah, it's helping counterbalance the TDS.
Yeah, no, I put that on X last week. I mean, it's a terrible disease. Terrible.
Oh my God. Scott H. Mark, Carl DeMaio says he's running for governor in 26. What are his chances?
Who is Carl? If I have to say, who is Carl DeMaio?
And where is he running?
No. The fact that we have to say both is indicative of what his chances are. Let me just answer that by saying that. Because in this modern day and age, you got to have money and name recognition. The number one thing you need in American politics is name recognition, because that can get you the money. That can raise you the money. Right. But if nobody knows who you are, and don't tell me he's your uncle, because we may not know who your uncle is. That's why Schwarzenegger was able to go in there and do what he did. That's why a bunch of Kennedys were able to do what they do.
Trump.
That's why Trump was able to do what he did. I mean, you got to have the name recognitions coming out of the gate. And if you achieve 100% name recognition, boom. I mean, you could write your own ticket. If you have money and name recognition, money. Unfortunately for Musk, he's born somewhere else. So that kind of hampers him, as it did Schwarzenegger, who wanted to change the Constitution so he could run for president.
Yeah.
Musk could be a governor.
Oh, sure he could.
Yeah.
But why?
Right. That's right. Why? Yeah.
I mean, I could think of
why?
Many better things to do.
Well, I mean, look at Ramaswamy is going to be the governor of Ohio based on
which is a solid place.
The odds are in his favor now.
Well, if Trump endorses him,
yeah,
he's got it. MAGA should carry him with no problem. But
yeah,
you know what he needs to be doing? Okay, we've got this winter storm coming in, and I hope that everyone has gotten prepared with America's Untold Stories. Supreme.
Oh, that could help. That could really help.
It absolutely could help.
I mean, if you're hunkered down in a bunker, that's you want cigarettes and coffee and liquor. I mean, you gotta have the big three. You really need the big three.
And this one's 100% legal,
right?
And it's good for you. And you even can have less cream because it is so rich and full that you could drink it black. Save a little bit of money on that. No cream needed. No sugar needed. You still can embellish it if you want. No problem. That's perfectly fine. But I haven't seen a bad review on this coffee yet.
Wow.
Everyone has agreed is fantastic.
We're going to bring it with us to the Barnes Big Balls birthday bonanza bash.
Absolutely.
So you get it there with your dessert, which is a giant, guy told me, some gigantic Barnes birthday cake.
Yep, and I've even done a QR code this time, so you can point your phone up. You're sitting there chilling out. Same thing with the event we just covered. You can point your phone right at the TV because we found out that YouTube, the number one device people are watching on, is the television. So
Wow.
it's only fair to accommodate and make life easier. And one thing cool about the TV is I think some of our people who are on the chat are effectively two watchers. They may be watching it on their TV and watching it on their phone at the same time.
Wow.
Participating in the chat. And
wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
To do that, if you wish,
you can't do the chat on the TV. I mean,
well, not that I know of. I don't know if there's a way that the
well, I have that thing. I bring the keyboard over, like you showed me, the Bluetooth keyboard, and I could sit and actually interact with the TV version.
Okay, well, so yeah, it can be done.
I mean, I'm really interacting with the computer, but it's on the TV.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they were doing their phone, it's actually two.
Is that two different views for us in terms of views?
It is.
Oh, we're okay.
And it's great because they're doing it the whole time. So that's two views for the entire show.
Right.
So thank you very much. It does help us out.
Thank you.
And George Orwell is pointing out I was close. And negative 40.
Right, but where? Oh, that's the mathematical science of it. Right.
At negative 40, it doesn't matter anymore. So,
well, some of these people are getting there. I saw Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota.
Saskatchewan just now.
Oh, Saskatchewan, yeah. That's why it's probably not good to have them as a 51st state.
I mean, a territory. I don't want the vote.
Territory. You know what? That's a great idea, Eric. We have plenty of territories. I lived in the Virgin Islands for a while. That was a U.S. territory. I lived in St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands. That was a U.S. territory. We were able to transfer our unemployment benefits down there, and we just lollygagged on the beach on unemployment in St. Thomas.
All right. Six Man Film said, Mark, does Lauren Skip Hall warrant his own JFK episode? Have you discussed him before in an episode? I don't remember. Thanks.
A, he does not deserve his own episode, and B, he was a gun runner to Cuba, and I think that's pretty much his claim to fame.
And maybe we brought him up with
we might have brought him up, but I mean, he's essentially a gun runner. I mean, they arrested him in Dallas with a trunk load of guns. I don't think you go to kill the president with a trunk load of guns on the day of the assassination. Where do I go with these guns, boys? How many got in there? He goes,
put them over there.
I got 60 rifles in the back of the trunk here. Where do I go to kill the president? I mean, think it through. Think it through about Hall. I mean, I get that everybody's grasping at anything, but there were multiple things going on simultaneously, internationally and nationally, and involving Cubans.
Oh, yeah. Outright Mental Defective said, is TDS MK Ultra?
I believe it is. I believe it's a 2.0 situation with MK Ultra. I've discussed this with a number of friends about the device that is emanating from the TV that gives it to them. I think it's coming through a television program, through MSNBC, through CNN. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I think they figured out a way to do it through television, through subliminals, but through exposure of X amount of hours. In other words, there's some trigger, and this is just my hunch, that if you watched 100 hours or 200 hours to get you into the game, the MK Ultra game, there's got to be not happening when you just turn it on. In other words, I think there's a certain amount of hours where it's triggered, whatever the program is, and I think it's coming through the tube.
Yes, and it probably is only affecting certain stratas of society.
Right.
And it may even just be persuasive language that is being used by the hosts and whatnot in how they're writing. And the same, like the whole breaking news.
Yeah, we don't know. It could be.
There's a lot of There's a lot of things going on.
I mean, what better way to use it than a particular channel, quote unquote, the word channel, to channel this MK Ultra program? You know who your audience is already, Eric, right? You know who you're hitting. In other words, if you went broad with just television, it would be so broad as to be ineffective. But if you focus it on a particular channel, again, you could do the same thing with Sesame Street and get kids. which I wouldn't put past them, doing the same thing that happened in Tokyo in Japan, where all these kids were sent to the hospital. So you could look that up. But I mean, I think this is some sophisticated new version of MK Ultra.
And you can get even higher level and get TikTok.
Yeah.
That's more. Social media is even more powerful. It makes the TV programming look weak. And there is a lot that can be done with that. Robert Epstein, I've interviewed him. You could check that out. Joe Rogan's interviewed him. But a perfect example there is you can feed whatever message or narrative you want through Google search results. That auto suggest when you start typing and the rest of the sentence is there. You don't know how powerful that is. When you'll say, does Donald Trump, and they'll say, or is Donald Trump, and then it says a convicted criminal, a da-da-da, and those auto suggestions, but then other things you're looking for, whoa, those terms never ever come up. Go figure. So there's some very powerful programming. Billy Bob, Mark, I was wondering what your thoughts were on James Files. Of course, he said he shot JFK.
Well, as I've said many times, one of my rules to eliminate people is the ones who say they did it. That's like my first rule. If you are bragging that you blew the head off the president of the United States, it may indicate that you're not serious. Yeah. I mean, especially if you're making videos, selling them, showing up with swag at Dealey Plaza. You've been a convicted felon. You've been convicted of all kinds of different crimes. What's it to you? I mean, you could simply say, kill the president and make some money off it.
Yeah. And you know what? Murder has no statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Go lock him up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out there.
Yeah, just go pick him up. So
he's over at Dealey Plaza. You'll find him.
You just go, did you shoot a video? You go, did you shoot the president? He said, yeah. Okay, get in the car. That's good. Low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean,
let him prove he didn't. Let him prove he didn't do it.
Oh my God!
We just showed this montage of videos of James Files going, "I killed him. I shot him. I did it. I used a fireball. I was behind the picket fence." How do you plead, Mr. Files? Well, I plead not guilty. Well, here's 8,000 hours of video saying you killed the president. I know, but I lied. Well, I'm sorry. We're going to have a trial on that case.
Yeah, he'd be suddenly calling all the people who are critical, saying, "Hey, can you get me that bit about the fireball where you proved that I couldn't have done it because the gun wasn't invented?"
Right, he'll call us.
Yeah, exactly.
As character references.
Help us out.
Well, help us out here. Come on.
All right. Well, we're going to continue this discussion over on Locals, which, by the way, you could have been watching this whole time without commercials, or you can watch it after the fact. We hang out there for a little bit more, answer some questions over there. Talk about random whatever. It is free to become a member. You can even pay to support. Get the entire Oswald audio drama. We also have the LBJ underway. It's at 50% at this point for
all right,
2-hour treatment of that. And other goodies we put up, like Mark, hopefully we'll put up the style guide if he
I gotta find one. I gotta find it somewhere. I've got different style guides somewhere.
That would be kind of cool. And little random things that you don't necessarily expect. It could be an FBI file. It could be documents, love letters.
I got Marguerite Oswald's driver's license that I'm going to put up.
All right. Love letters from Ruth Payne to
lesbian love letters, ladies and gentlemen. How about that for smoke and hotness?
So all kinds of things on Locals, but most of all, you just hang out there, meet good people, and we're going to head there right now.